Hi, I'm Elizabeth. At 52, I've built a successful business, but believe me, managing family drama is a whole different ballgame. Right now, I'm hosting a huge family reunion at my place, beautiful house in the suburbs, if I may say so. But at the moment, it feels more like a pressure cooker than a home. My son, Michael, and his wife, Sophia, are coming, and she's pregnant with my first grandchild. That should be exciting, right? But there's some tension. I try to be nice, but sometimes her way of doing things is just so different from ours. While I was prepping for the reunion in the kitchen, Michael cornered me. Mom, we need to talk about Grandma. I had a feeling I knew what was coming, but I still asked, what about her? Sophia's worried. Last time we visited, Grandma couldn't remember her name. She kept asking if Sophia was the new maid. I sighed and put down the knife I was using to chop vegetables. Your grandmother is just having some senior moments, Michael. It's nothing to worry about. Mom, it's more than that. Sophia's scared to be alone with her. What if something happens, especially with the baby coming? I didn't want to hear it. My mother, Gertrude, has been living with me for years. Sure, she's been a bit forgetful lately, but who wouldn't be at 78? Michael, I've got everything under control. Your grandmother is fine. Just then, my sister Karen strolled into the kitchen. Oh, are we talking about dear old Mom? She said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I was just telling Aunt Mildred how she tried to pay for her coffee with a button last week. Hilarious, isn't it? I glared at her. Karen has always been a thorn in my side, constantly trying to one-up me. That never happened, Karen. Stop exaggerating. She smirked. Elizabeth, always in denial. Oh, by the way, I heard Sophie's been feeling sick. Morning sickness, or maybe she just can't stomach this family. She chuckled as she sauntered off. Michael looked at me, concern etched on his face. Mom, maybe we should consider getting Grandma some help. We don't need any help, I insisted. This reunion is going to be perfect. You'll see. But as I watched him walk away, shaking his head, I couldn't shake the feeling that things were about to get a lot more complicated. The day of the reunion arrived, and the house was buzzing with activity. I was running around like a headless chicken, making sure everything was perfect. The smell of barbecue filled the air, and relatives were mingling and laughing. But I hadn't seen Michael and Sophia yet. They're running late, my cousin Jane informed me when I asked. Sophia's having a rough morning with the pregnancy. I nodded, trying not to let my irritation show. Of all days to be late. Suddenly, a piercing scream cut through the chatter. My heart leaped into my throat as I raced toward the sound, pushing past confused relatives. I burst into the kitchen to find chaos. Sophia was on the floor, clutching her belly, tears streaming down her face. My mother, Gertrude, stood over her, cane raised, her eyes wild with confusion. Mother, what have you done? I cried, rushing to Sophia's side. Who is this intruder? I caught her sneaking in, Gertrude declared, her voice shaking. Michael appeared, pushing past me to reach Sophia. Oh my God, are you okay? He asked, his face pale with panic. She hit me? Sophia sobbed. I just came in for a moment of peace. I didn't mean to startle anyone. The room quickly filled with concerned family members, and of course, Karen was the first to chime in. Well, Elizabeth, looks like your perfect little family isn't so perfect after all. I've been saying for months that Mom needs to be in a home, but you wouldn't listen, would you? Shut up, Karen, I snapped, but the damage was already done. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. She's right, Liz, Uncle Bob chimed in. Gertrude could have seriously hurt Sophia and the baby. It's not safe. It's not Mother's fault, I argued weakly. Sophia shouldn't have come in unannounced. Are you kidding me? Michael exploded. You're blaming Sophia for this? Your mother attacked my pregnant wife. The room erupted into a cacophony of arguments, with half the family defending Gertrude and the other half standing up for Sophia. I stood in the middle, feeling torn and overwhelmed. We need to get Sophia to the hospital, Michael declared, helping his wife to her feet. This reunion is over. As they left, supported by concerned relatives, Karen sidled up to me with her usual smugness. Well, sis, looks like your big day is ruined. Maybe next time you'll listen to me about Mother. I watched helplessly as they disappeared through the door. The days following the reunion were a blur of phone calls and damage control. I tried reaching out to Michael and Sophia, but my calls went straight to voicemail. The silence was deafening, and the guilt gnawed at me. Michael, please call me back. I'm worried about Sophia and the baby. I'm so sorry about what happened. I pleaded into the phone for the umpteenth time. As if dealing with my son's silence wasn't enough, I began noticing whispers and sideways glances from neighbors and acquaintances. I finally confronted Karen at her house one afternoon. "What the hell do you think you're doing, spreading our family business around town?" I demanded. Karen feigned innocence. "I'm just concerned about Mother, Liz. Someone has to look out for her, especially since you're clearly not up to the task." Her words stung, but I wasn't about to let her see how much. "Stay out of it, Karen. This is my family, my responsibility." As I turned to leave, something caught my eye. A stack of papers on Karen's desk. One of them was a bank statement for an account I didn't recognize, but the name on top was clear: Gertrude Williams. My blood ran cold. What was Karen doing with Mom's bank statements? Over the next few days, I did some dating. What I uncovered made me sick to my stomach. Karen had been systematically draining Mom's accounts, taking small amounts at a time for months. And that wasn't all. I found a copy of a new will, dated just 2 weeks ago, leaving everything to Karen. "Mom, did you change your will recently?" I asked Gertrude over dinner, trying to keep my voice casual. She looked confused. "Will? What will, dear?" "The one Karen helped you write. Don't you remember?" Mom's brow furrowed. "Karen said it was just some papers for the bank. She said you were too busy to help, so she'd take care of it for me." My heart sank. Karen had manipulated our confused mother for her own gain. The betrayal cut deep. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, Michael finally called. But it wasn't the conversation I'd hoped for. "Mom, Safid is in the hospital. The stress from the incident caused complications. She's on mandatory bed rest for the remainder of the pregnancy." I felt the blood drain from my face. "Oh God, Michael, I'm so sorry. Is there anything I can do?" His voice was cold. "You've done enough, Mom. If you had listened to us about Grandma's condition, none of this would have happened. I don't think it's a good idea for you to be around Sophia or the baby right now." The call ended, leaving me more alone than ever. I sat in my kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of the failed reunion, and let the tears flow. As I cried, memories began flooding back, times Karen had accidentally mixed up important business documents, potential clients who suddenly backed out after receiving anonymous tips about my company's reliability, family members who'd grown distant after private conversations with her. It all made sense now. Karen hadn't just betrayed me this time. She'd been undermining me for years, poisoning my relationships and sabotaging my success. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd been blind to the toxic dynamics in my own family for so long. I'd always made excuses for Karen's behavior, always tried to keep the peace. But at what cost? As the sun set outside my window, I made a decision. It was time to confront the ugly truth and make things right. No more excuses. No more turning a blind eye. I picked up my phone and dialed a number. "Hello, is this Anderson & Associates law firm? I need to speak with someone about elder abuse and financial fraud. It's about my sister and my mother." The weight of what I was about to do settled on my shoulders. It wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I hired Jack, a private investigator, to dig deeper into Karen's financial dealings with Mom. Meanwhile, I scheduled an appointment with Dr. Patel, a renowned geriatric specialist, to assess Mom's condition. "We've gathered substantial evidence of financial abuse," Jack reported, handing me a thick folder. "Bank transfers, forged signatures, manipulated legal documents. It's all here." Dr. Patel's assessment was equally revealing. "Your mother is in the early stages of dementia. With proper care and support, she can continue living at home safely." Armed with this information, I called a family meeting. As everyone gathered in my living room, the tension was palpable. "I've called you all here because I have something important to share." I began, my voice trembling slightly, as I laid out the evidence of Karen's deceit and manipulation. Shock and anger rippled through the room as the truth sank in. Cornered, Karen lashed out. "You've always had everything, Elizabeth. The successful business, the perfect family. I deserved something for once. By stealing from our sick mother." Michael snapped, disgust evident in his voice. I turned to Karen, years of pent-up frustration boiling over. "I've made mistakes, Karen. I should have seen what was happening sooner, but what you've done is unforgivable." With the family's support, I moved forward with legal action. Karen's life unraveled quickly after that. As news of her actions spread, former friends and acquaintances distanced themselves. Last I heard, she moved out of state, leaving behind a tattered reputation and broken relationships. Focusing on Mom's care became my priority. I hired a live-in nurse and made modifications to the house to ensure her safety. Slowly but surely, we settled into a new routine. The biggest challenge remained mending my relationship with Michael and Sophia. Swallowing my pride, I reached out again, this time with a heartfelt letter acknowledging my mistakes and asking for a chance to make things right. To my relief, they agreed to meet. Sitting across from them at a small cafe, I felt a mix of nervousness and hope. "I'm so sorry," I began, my voice thick with emotion. "I should have listened to your concerns about Mom. I was in denial, and you both paid the price for it." Sophia, her hand resting on her swollen belly, spoke softly. "We were angry for a long time, Elizabeth, but we've had time to think. We understand you were just trying to protect your mother." Michael nodded, adding, "We appreciate you taking action now, Mom. It couldn't have been easy to confront Karen like that." As we talked, I felt the walls between us start to crumble. By the time we said goodbye, tentative plans were made for them to visit Mom, and I had been invited to their next ultrasound appointment. Weeks turned into months, and before I knew it, I was pacing the hospital waiting room, anxiously awaiting news of my grandchild's arrival. When Michael finally emerged, his face lit up with a wide grin. "It's a girl," he announced, tears in his eyes. "Want to meet your granddaughter." Holding that tiny bundle in my arms, I felt a surge of love so powerful it took my breath away. Sophia smiled up at me from her hospital bed, tired but radiant. "We were thinking of naming her Grace," she said softly. "After all we've been through, it seemed fitting." I looked around the room, taking in the scene. Mom was dozing in a chair, her nurse by her side. Michael stood proudly next to Sophia's bed. Aunts, uncles, and cousins crowded the doorway, eager to catch a glimpse of the newest family member. In that moment, I realized we have fostered an environment where something beautiful could thrive. The journey had been challenging, and it was far from over. But as I gazed down at little Grace's peaceful face, I knew that every difficult decision and every painful conversation had been worth it. "Welcome to the family, Grace," I whispered, placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. "We've got quite a story to tell you someday." Now I have a question for you. If you were in Elizabeth's position, would you have pressed charges against your sister Karen for elder abuse and fraud, even knowing it could tear your family apart? Or would you have tried to handle the situation privately to preserve family relationships? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your perspective matters and could help others facing similar difficult family situations. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue sharing these complex family dramas and sparking important conversations. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.